Happy 2025. The weather is like that right now. It's pretty crazy. I'm avoiding going inside because I have to take out the dog and it's too cold. So at this point, I haven't posted a video about my midwifery journey in a little bit. I haven't at all. I posted the 2024 recap, and of course I made like a little reel about, you know, how grateful I am for Jenna taking me on as a student and being her assist, and I am incredibly grateful. So I've been getting more messages lately about how to become a midwifery student, how you can find a preceptor, and I find it really interesting. That was absolutely me like almost 3 years ago now, and it's very hard to network and meet your birth community and get out there. There's no one right way to go about it. You know, there's a lot of different avenues to becoming a midwife, to becoming a direct entry midwife, a CPM, which is what I'm currently in school for. And my preceptor is actually a CNM. And it's possible. You can work under a CNM. You can help an OB. You can help us. You can even work. As long as they are a NARM certified preceptor, they can take you on as their student. As far as getting paid, it is once you get into your primary phase, I think it's up to the preceptor. There's no law stating that you cannot get paid as a student. So it's preceptor to preceptor on what they decide, and you know what you ultimately decide together, and what your contract states, and you know conversations that you had earlier. But becoming a student is, it's not just one avenue, and I think that people get really overwhelmed by how many avenues that you can take. So currently I'm doing a MEC accredited institution called MCU. It's a 4-year program, so it's not an associate's. It is a bachelor's in midwifery, bachelor's in science of midwifery at the Midwives College of Utah. Their program is completely online, and then you can travel there for assessments, or you can stay and pay $150 and then you can do your assessments online. So you don't have to go to Utah ever if you don't want to. They encourage it. I did the first year and it was really great. It was awesome. I met a lot of really incredible people. I got certified in NRP. I got my midwifery assistant certificate. So I was able to have a good experience and then also come out of there with things that have propelled me through my student career. So I do recommend it if you go to MCU to at least go to Utah once or twice. It's fun, and it's a good way to meet your community. If you're going to go the PEP route in the state of Texas, you can go the PEP route and you don't have to go to a MEC accredited institution where, you know, you're sending in your births every phase. So there's 4 phases. There's not 3 phases, because the 4th phase is getting your COCs, or the continuity of cares. And you have to pay for each phase that you turn in, and then NARM has to approve it until you can take your NARM. There's a school in Austin that a couple of midwives have attended. I don't know a lot of information about that one, and I'm not gonna put their names out there because it's not really my place to do so. But there is a school in Austin, and I can find out more information just so I can kind of post it for people. There are a couple of students attending I think it's called Southwest, and it's a 2-year, you can do a 2-year program for your associates in midwifery, and you do have to travel to Wisconsin from what I've seen. And I don't know if that one is covered by FAFSA. So the coolest thing about MCU is that it is covered by FAFSA, if you qualify for FAFSA. And that was important to me since that's one of the things that I kind of required in going into midwifery school. I needed help from FAFSA. But if you don't, and you want to go to midwifery school, you have a program that you think is, you're very passionate about it. And that could be in anything, if you want to go to ancient art midwifery and get your training that way. I've heard different things about ATM, but I've also heard good things about ATM. With that, in the state of Texas, you need to pay $1,400 up front, I believe, along with your application fee, to get the process started. If you already have observed births, they have to approve those observed births or any birth experience that you've had prior to entering school. And this is with most midwifery schools. Even if you go in there and you've had 300 plus births, you've been a doula for 10 plus years, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to take all your births. That doesn't mean that they're going to approve all your experience, and that doesn't mean they're going to recognize all your experience. Very frustrating, I understand. But that's just, midwifery student to midwifery student. One of the things that I've encountered, you think you've got all this experience, and they're the ones who are going to tell you on whether or not they approve it, and different institutions will approve different amounts of experience. So National College of Midwifery is another institution. They are, I believe, they're not covered by FAFSA. I believe they're MEC accredited, but I have to look that up. And this is all very different now since MANA disbanded, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen with NARM. So there's a lot of different things in play now that 2025 is here. So becoming a midwife in 2025, 2026, 2027 is probably going to be different than somebody who became a midwife in 2020, 2021, and so forth. But with NCM, National College of Midwifery, they have 2 programs. They have the Associates program, and then they have the Bachelor's in Midwifery as well. It is all self-paced. There is no due dates. You pay $4,000 up front, and then you give them your portfolio of birth experience, and you can go in there with no birth experience, but people have gone in there with more experience, given their entire portfolio. And one of the coolest things, I think, is that they're one of the other institutions that take MCU credits. That's not to say they'll approve all of them that you've taken, but if you've gone to MCU and now you want to switch over to maybe the Associates program from NCM, you can see if they'll take some of your credits from NCU. So yeah, that's one of, or some of the coolest things. And then once you're in school, you don't have to be in school to be a midwifery student. So if you do the PEP route and you decide to get your certificate, you decide to be a certified birth assistant, you get your NRP, you get your BLS, you get your CPR, you get all your life-saving certifications so that you can start assisting a midwife at a birth, and then they decide to take you on as a student and you start turning in your births with PEP with them. Then that's another route that you can take without attending an institution to become a direct entry midwife. But most of the midwives that I have met in the state of Texas, not just in San Antonio, also in El Paso, which is where I'm originally from, and Dallas, they are looking for direct entry midwives that have actually been to a program that actually has been and has had some experience with a didactic program, the history of midwifery, why midwives do what they do, why we, test urine, why we do CBC, why we draw labs, all of the things. That's not really given to you in the PEP program. It's not a didactic program. And then there are, if you decided to just do PEP, ancient art midwifery, and then various institutions that are not MEC accredited around the United States will have skills workshops that you can attend to obtain those skills. So you can obtain them without going to school. But like I said, most of the preceptors that I've met, most of the NARM certified preceptors that I've met, do like some sort of didactic education. If not at the beginning of your midwifery journey, at some point. That's just again from conversations, coffee dates, all of those things. I am not a perfect student. I'm not a perfect student at all. And there are so many different routes that I'm just trying my best. But I do believe in giving information. I think that part of the reason I became a birth worker in the first place is because I had no information on anything, on how to be a mom, on how to navigate postpartum. We're supposed to have this innate knowledge, and what if we want to help others? What if we want to help birthing people? When I first started talking to midwives, they weren't, and this is years ago. This was 2017, after I had my son, that I actually started looking into being a midwife. I wasn't met with a lot of information. When you ask somebody like, hey, you're a midwife, I think that's incredible. I want to do what you do. How do I get there? And then they don't really give you anything. It can be very discouraging to your journey. You may believe that, oh, I guess it's just not going to happen for me. But I think it just has to be, especially with midwifery, because it's not so readily available, like being a nurse, or a physician's assistant, or a medical assistant, or anything in the system that is more available to you. It can be very discouraging. And then accomplishing all that, getting into school. I lost you. Getting into school, and then finally getting there, and then not being able to find somebody who is willing to take you under their wing. And I've seen different conversations from different preceptors. There are preceptors who believe that students need to be vetted in a way that they were. So, and that's, the history, and that's the lineage, and that's the way it should work. Students should not be paid. Students should be on call for 6 to 10 births, and they can't have a job. They have to be committed to this midwife. Well, it's very hard to have work-life balance when you're also a mom trying to becoming a midwife. And you're trying to find other ways that you can support your preceptor, or ways to support their business without, asking or needing any sort of financial help. Can be very hard. If you're lucky enough to have somebody who is financially supporting you through your entire journey, I'm so happy for you. I really am. This isn't really about that though. Even if you are financially supported by somebody, midwifery is so expensive to become a midwife. And that's just from a CPM perspective, because I'm not a CNM, and because I did not go that route, I don't have a lot of information on that. But the questions that I've been getting lately have been, how can I get a preceptor? Where can I start looking to go to school? How do I become a CPM? And that's just the information that I have right now. And it's just lived experience at this point. And I'm still very much on the journey of learning and recognizing that I will always be learning, even when I become a licensed midwife, that I will never stop.